and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on.
I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of the UK's second-largest city, Birmingham.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you send us, dig in, and pull out the key stuff so you can get up to speed quickly without, feeling totally swamped.
Exactly. Think of it as getting the core insights fast. And today, well, we're diving into something a bit different, maybe.
Yeah, what we got?
One of you sent in an episode of The Archers, the BBC radio drama, specifically the one from May 5th, 2025.
Ah, okay. The Archers. Right. It's been running forever, hasn't it? Paints a picture of village life.
It does. And while it's fiction, it often taps into real-world issues through its characters, so it gives us this interesting little window.
Okay, so our mission here isn't like a critical review or guessing plot points?
No, not at all. We're looking at the specific episode you sent in as a kind of snapshot.
Right.
You were curious about what makes it compelling, what's going on beneath the surface.
Right, so let's unpack it. There seem to be two main threads that really jump out.
Definitely. First up, there's the storyline around Emma Grundy. It's the 1-year anniversary of George crashing Alice's car.
Right, that whole incident. And even though it's been a year...
The ripples are still being felt. You really see that in this episode. Emma's clearly affected.
Yeah, we hear her talking to Natasha at the cafe, and Natasha mentioned something about feedback on the cricket tee.
She does. And there's also a mention of the Bridge Farm sewage problems still being talked about. We don't get the full details on that.
No, sounds like some local history. Maybe a bit of a scandal.
Probably. But it hints at these undercurrents, these tensions in the community. And what's interesting is how Emma reacts. She kind of deflects, even apologizes for being in a bad mood.
She says she doesn't want to dwell on the anniversary. Says something like, moping about wishing things were different helps no one.
Exactly. But Natasha picks up on it, says Emma seems sad underneath. It's that contrast, trying to be strong, but the grief is obviously still there.
It feels very real, that kind of coping mechanism. Trying to stay in control when things feel shaky.
Totally. And avoiding the pain, maybe subconsciously.
It doesn't just stop there, does it? Mick brings it up later, too.
Yeah, Mick clocks the date, offers some support. But Emma, again, she sort of pushes it away, uses that same phrase, I don't want to mop about.
It really highlights that internal battle she's having. Do you think her focusing on the cricket tea thing, Linda wanting posher food, the poo cakes memory?
Yes, the infamous poo cakes tied to the sewage, I assume.
Right. Is that a genuine shift in focus for her, or just her anxiety finding another outlet?
Good question. Could be a bit of both, couldn't it? Focusing on something practical, like cricket teas, is maybe easier than facing the big emotional stuff head on.
A distraction maybe gives her a sense of control.
Yeah, and it shows how in these small communities, everything's kind of connected. Past issues, like the sewage thing, they just hang around coloring, even, planning for a cricket match.
Okay, but then there's this really quite touching moment later on. Mick mentions Joy and Rashelle will get to their story next, and Emma has this kind of realization.
She does. She says she's starting to properly get it. About what Joy must have gone through finding out the truth about George's actions, presumably.
She draws a line between her loving George, faults and all, and Joy sticking by Rashelle.
It's a powerful moment of empathy, isn't it? While she's dealing with her own stuff, trying not to dwell, she connects with what Joy's feeling.
That idea of unwavering love, even when it's really, really hard.
Yeah, it really resonates. And even with all that going on inside, the episode ends with her, carrying on, getting on with her work, sending her love to Joy via Mick.
Shows a certain resilience, I suppose.
Oh.
Coping, but still connecting. Okay, let's shift gears. That second big storyline. Rashelle. Her arrest.
Right. This kicks off with a pretty stressed phone call between Joy and Usha, the solicitor.
And what's the news?
Rachelle's been arrested. The charge mentioned initially is obstruction or disruption of a person engaged in lawful activity. Sounds maybe not too bad on its own.
Okay, obstruction. But Usha seems worried it's more than that.
Very worried. She immediately flags the potential for much more serious charges. She even uses the term domestic terrorism.
Wow, okay, that's a huge escalation. In connection with what?
Something about meat poisoning that's thrown into the mix.
Meat poisoning. Okay, so you can understand joy and mixed fear then. That sounds incredibly serious, going from obstruction to potentially terrorism-related charges.
It's a massive jump. It suggests the police are looking at the wider context, the actions of Rashelle's whole activist group, perhaps.
Maybe what the protests involved.
Possibly. That term, domestic terrorism, even if just being considered, implies the authorities think it went way beyond a simple protest. The meat poisoning part is obviously a major red flag for them.
So this leads to Usha talking directly with Rashelle, and it sounds tense.
Very tense. Usha's advising her strongly not to use a no-comment strategy in her police interview, laying out the risks.
But Rachelle's not having it.
No, she calls it standard activist code, says it's about protecting the group, not incriminating herself or others.
So loyalty to the group versus legal self-preservation.
Exactly. Usha's trying to explain that staying silent means Rashelle can't give her side, can't potentially mitigate things, but Rashelle is sticking to her principles.
And we get a sense of why she's so committed, don't we?
Oh, definitely. She talks about the total exploitation of animals, the environmental impact. She mentions finding a skip full of cat house skulls.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty visceral imagery. It shows this isn't just abstract for her, it's deeply felt. It connects to her values, even how she sees herself as a mother, not wanting to feed her kids processed animal flesh.
You can hear the passion, but does it feel like maybe she's a bit blinkered to the consequences? Or how her actions might be seen?
That's the thing, isn't it? Her conviction is so strong, maybe it overshadows the potential fallout, legally and socially. It's that classic activist dilemma. How far do you go for your beliefs when society, or the law, doesn't agree with your methods?
And there's clearly a difference in perspective with Usha.
Absolutely. Usha might even be sympathetic personally. She mentions being vegetarian, but her job is the legal reality.
And it seems there are even splits within the activists. Rashelle mentioned someone named Saskia.
Yeah, quoting Saskia calling Usha a bleeding heart vegetarian who won't get her hands dirty. It shows there isn't one single view, even among the activists. Different ideas about tactics.
And Rashelle seems aligned with the more, extreme end.
It appears that way. Though, importantly, Rashelle does claim she didn't know hostage-taking or food poisoning were part of the plan.
Which could be key for her defense, but also makes you wonder about the group's dynamics. Was she unaware? Or willfully ignorant?
Hard to say from just this. But the situation gets worse. Usha calls Joy and Mick back later.
What's happened?
Police bail has been refused. The reason given is Rashelle has no fixed abode, so they see her as a flight risk.
Oh, wow. So she's being held.
Yeah, and she's got a court appearance scheduled for the next morning. It's moving fast.
And Mick immediately offers to sort out an address for her.
Which again shows that community support even in these tricky situations. But Usha's assessment of Rashelle is pretty telling. Stubborn, impassioned.
Sums it up, really. Committed, but maybe making things harder for herself legally.
Potentially, yes. So the episode leaves her story very much up in the air, just waiting for that court hearing.
Okay, so pulling it all together from this one episode, we've seen these like everyday village things, cricket teas, gossip dumping up against really profound personal stuff like Emma's grief.
And these bigger, more ideological conflicts like Rachelle's activism and the serious legal trouble she's landed in.
And for you listening in who wanted to get a handle on this episode quickly, we've seen how Emma's own pain kind of opens a door to understanding Joy's situation. That's a key insight, I think.
Definitely. That moment of empathy and also grasping the sheer force of Rachelle's beliefs, even while seeing the very real danger she's put herself in. It shows how personal stuff and big ideas drive actions that, while they spread out, affect everyone around them.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? How do these individual choices, driven by loss or by these really strong beliefs, how do they actually impact a whole community? What does this snapshot tell us about, balancing loyalty to people we care about with maybe a wider responsibility?
Lots to chew on there. It was a fascinating source to dive into, so thanks for sending it our way.
Yes, thank you. And if you've got a source, an article, a video, another radio show episode perhaps that's got you curious, send it over. We're always ready for the next deep dive.
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the archers. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the bull bar.
This one.
Yep, that's.
I mean, Hayley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline. I mean,
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever